You know, the thing is that for so many people, this is coming in as a shock. And I've just been going through some messages I have from some other people and even, you know, college mates. And for some, they saying they just can't even feel, you know, the enthusiasm to make it down to work today. They're feeling, you know, out of sort because of what exactly is happening. But I'm hoping that our producers here should be able to get us to Bucharest, where George Ajjan will be joining us. I hope if that is set, George should be able to tell us pretty much what is happening. George, good morning and good to see you again. Yesterday on Politics Today, we were trying to look at you know, some of the issues raised during the campaigns and also talk more on the Electoral College. Now, are you surprised with what is happening at the moment?
Well, when we talked about 12 hours ago, remember we had said that you know, there are three key things to watch that would determine whether it was going to be a long night or not, and that was North Carolina, Florida, and Pennsylvania. And you know, the thinking was, as we discussed, if Hillary Clinton wins all three of those, then it's pretty much a done deal. We're at a situation now where Trump has won Florida, Trump has won North Carolina, and Clinton is down by 75,000, according to the last time I checked a few minutes ago, in Pennsylvania. So she's got to pull a real rabbit out of a hat in Pennsylvania, and she's also got to win Michigan. Because if, you know, the last count you gave at 244, you know, several of the news sites are already calling Wisconsin for Trump. That puts him up to 254. So if he gets 16 out of Michigan, he's at 270 already, before we've even looked at New Hampshire or Arizona. So she has got to win Michigan, and she has got to win Pennsylvania.
The way it stands, is there any hope if she does win those areas you just highlighted? Is it looking good for her at the moment?
Well, those are must-wins at this point. That still doesn't put her at enough to win. She then needs to win New Hampshire. She needs to hold on to Minnesota. And then, you know, if Trump gets, I think, in Arizona, he's got 11. And so if he gets 11 plus 4 from New Hampshire, that's 15. That will put him at 269. So we're really, really coming down to the wire here.
You know, this is your area, you know, and you have tried it out, trying to see how you can get to the Congress, and you've been working with politicians across the world. For so many, trying to understand the Trump phenomenon, what do you think it is that is truly working for Trump at the moment?
Well, you know, as we discussed yesterday, remember we talked about turnout, and Trump's ability to win would depend upon his ability to turn out people who don't normally vote. Those tend to be people from the white community who are less educated, you know, sort of working class people, as your previous guest said, who have been displaced and have been dislodged by globalization over the past few decades. It looks like those people who normally are unpredictable in terms of their turnout to vote, even in a presidential year, is not very good. They have turned out. We're looking at record turnouts. I don't have the exact numbers yet. We probably won't know till all the votes are cast what the turnout number is, but it's expected to go beyond 60%, which would be a record. And if those people have turned out as a rejection of the establishment, you know, that was the key to Trump's victory. And that's not something that any of the pollsters were able to see. And it's not something that's really able to be assessed because it doesn't fit into the normal modeling of an election in America.
Okay, my colleague Markwe in Abuja, she has some questions for you. Markwe, I think George is listening.
Well, you know, is it time to lose hope just yet? Looking at some of the tweets that we're seeing here, we're seeing a picture of a large section at Hillary Clinton's NYC Watch party slowly emptying. They say that some of them are already leaving for their homes. It's definitely not the night that they prepared for. Is it time for Clinton supporters to lose hope just yet?
Well, I don't blame them for having long faces at this point in time. Again, she's got to really pull a rabbit out of a hat in Pennsylvania and Michigan. You know, to pull out a margin of 75 or 80,000 votes. You know, the question is, we can't just look at the numbers because we don't know what kind of precincts are still yet to be counted. Because if you take a state like Pennsylvania or even Michigan, you have very rural areas of the state which tend to be Republican, and then you have the inner cities which tend to produce large majorities for the Democratic candidate. So the question is, of the remaining, 3 or 4% of precincts that have yet to be counted, are those in inner city Philadelphia or are those in more rural regions? Now, if those are in inner city Philadelphia, and Clinton is able to generate large margins there, then she may be able to pull it out. If, however, most of the votes from the urban areas have been counted, and we're counting on suburban and rural areas, then it's probably hopeless for her. But we don't know that yet. That's why even the American news sites are reluctant to call either of those two states.
We understand that the hashtag President Trump is already trending in countries like China and India. Are we getting ahead of ourselves, or is it
well, look,
where we should be looking to already? Is the world already bracing itself up for a Trump presidency?
Yes. Let's all, first of all, take a deep breath because nothing has been settled yet. It does certainly look in his favor at the moment. And even if it is in his favor, yes, there was a lot of bombast during the campaign. But, at the end of the day, life will go on. And, it's a big country to manage. And we're talking about an individual who's managed a company, who has employed all kinds of people of all shades and colors and genders and sexual orientations and whatever. So I'm not so worried that this is going to turn into some kind of a new fascist America. I would expect, and I certainly hope, that if he indeed prevails, that he'll take a more unifying tone. Now, that's not to say that there's not a lot of damage to undo because of the very divisive, nasty nature of this campaign. But let's all take a deep breath and realize that the world's not quite coming to an end just yet.
George, looking at some of the, analysis here, you've done this for at least 5 continents. I'm trying to look at the factor that some people are raising online, and it has to do with, they're trying to be sexist here. Some say that perhaps this is about the lady Hillary, and they still think that for some other people who have the big money to spend, perhaps maybe in the Arab world, they still don't think it's right. It's the right time for America to have a woman president.
Well, the gender issue is quite interesting in this campaign. Hillary is trumped, Hillary is trumped, to use the word, in sort of a nice little pun there. Hillary is promoted as the great victory for women and women's rights, which I find quite ironic because despite the fact that she has a great CV, she wouldn't have any of that CV had it not been directly related to the fact that her husband was the president of the United States. She would not have become a senator. She would not have become Secretary of State. She would not be in a position to be president. So I think there have been other women candidates in the past and women office holders in both parties that have a lot more to offer in terms of showcasing what a woman could do as president than Hillary. In terms of what other countries think, that's neither here nor there. It's up to the American people to decide. And, look, whether it's because she's a woman or not, she has a long-standing issue with likability. And that was true throughout this campaign. She tried to amend that, but, she has low favorables, lower than she should have had to have been able to win the election. And that was true for many months and many years, in fact.
Over an hour ago when we first spoke this morning, I got into another conversation with someone, and the news has it that so many things are happening in other world economies. For instance, the dollar is getting this nosedive, and of course, if you look at the stocks, they're also dropping. Does this remind us of what happened after Brexit?
It may well do. Although the Brexit decision was much more systemic than the personality aspect of Trump's presidency. Again, and as we saw when the High Court in the UK took their decision, the pound bounced back a little bit. So we're not looking at a global financial meltdown because Donald Trump was elected president of the United States. And we have to see how he will handle the transition period. If he handles the transition period the way he has handled his company as business executive, if he makes sound decisions, if he brings in intelligent people, if he tries to mend fences, then I think people will calm down and life will go on. And that's what I hope and expect to happen.
Mending fences is very key here because for so many, they still can't believe what has gone down in the campaigns, and they're wondering what definitely will happen if finally he's declared victorious. But come to think of it, tell us what you think that will happen further. First, tell us who these electors are, because many have been wondering, who are the electors? Getting to see the way it's going already.
Well, essentially, they are party loyalists, and this is largely just a ceremonial bit. The way in the early days, 200 and some years ago, when the Constitution was first ratified, the electors were elites that actually had the power to decide the vote. These days, we're in a very partisan country for the past 150 years or more, and the party loyalists are, in fact, the electors. So if a party wins, it's very, very unusual for an elector to defect and vote for someone else. So what we see on the map, and when you look at the map of the states, which ones are red and which ones are blue, that's quite predictable in terms of what will happen when the Electoral College goes through its formality and actually selects the president.